name is Sam Causey. I was born and raised in the Birmingham area and went to school at Auburn. My wife and I moved out here about 25 years ago. We've lived on the property since. When I started out, I just had this desire to own some land. I was thinking that maybe 5 to 10 acres would be about what I was looking for. And it was just by happenstance that my mother mentioned to her cousin that we were looking for land. And it turns out they agreed to sell us 60 acres. And so when we bought the land, I'm sort of ashamed to admit it, I didn't really have a good plan for what I was going to do with that much property. So we moved out here, and the first thing we did was we built my shop. And we lived in that for 5 years while we decided what the floor plan and what the house should actually look like. And then after we had the 60 acres and we lived in the shop for 5 years, we built this house. And about that same time frame, we had the opportunity to add more property in 2 parcels. Drummond Company was selling surrounding land, and they were taking sealed bids, and we bid on 2 additional properties that were adjacent or contiguous to the 60 acres, so that we now have about 142 acres. Water is not a big issue because we harvest water off of our equipment shed. I put gutters and downspouts and tanks and the pump system and ran underground pipes to the pastures, so we have freeze-proof water troughs in the pastures, and we have a piping underground that goes out there to those freeze-proof water troughs. We also have a hay barn. We can store our hay for the winter for the cows. We built this house in about 2000, started building it in around 2000. I think finishing it was probably at least a year to a year and a half after that. The house plans, my wife and I developed those ourselves. We had a house designer put them on paper for us, but we had a general outline of the plan we wanted. We wanted the first floor to be wheelchair accessible, and it is. All the doors on the main level are 3.0, except for access to 2 of the back bedrooms. Also, the garage is on the same level as the main level of the house, so there's no step up coming in. There's no step going into the shower. And actually, a year ago, I was in a wheelchair for a month, and I wheeled around in the house, and I did verify that it's wheelchair accessible on the main level. So the house is on 3 levels, and it has 3 air conditioning and heating systems. We're fortunate enough to be on natural gas, so the heating and the water heater are natural gas, and we have a natural gas-fired standby generator, 22 kW, that has automatic switchgear, which is comforting. We put in wall-hung unvented gas space heaters as emergency heat on all 3 levels of the house. So even if the generator didn't work and the power was off, the house is heated. In the basement, we have a lot of room. It was built as a mother-in-law apartment. There's a bedroom and bathroom down there. There's also a large storm shelter, which I've been looking into what it takes to be a FEMA qualified safe room, and I think the safe room downstairs actually exceeds the FEMA requirements. When we built the house, I wanted it to be rather energy efficient, so the exterior walls are all 2x6 studs for extra insulation. The only area of the house that doesn't have 2x6 stud walls is the room on the top floor. And that bedroom, and windows are all the way around. It has fantastic views of the property. The rest of the house, there's a lot of windows in the house, and they primarily face to the south and get the winter sun coming in. And it also affords nice views of the little valley that the creek is in out here. We have a really nice creek that has never been known to go dry. And in fact, the railroad used to pump water up from the creek to the railroad and for the steam engines. The old turn-of-the-century roadbed, turn of the century not being 2000 but 1900, that road is on the property, and it goes down and goes across the creek and a ford, so I can get to the other side of my property by fording that creek when the creek is not high. And that creek has exceptionally clean water. When I bought the property, I contacted ADM, Alabama Department of Environmental Management, and that creek was classified, and as far as I know still is, classified as fish and wildlife. so there's no known pollution sources on that creek. There's a lot of wildlife out here, and I think a lot of that's because of that creek. In fact, this week we have had 4 deer in our backyard playing. One young one was really cutting up and having a ball out there. It's fun to watch him. And then in the driveway, we're always seeing deer across the driveway. And then I haven't seen any this spring, but we typically see turkey, and they're typically around this area a lot. One of the big draws for me for the property out here was the privacy. You're really not that far from Birmingham, but yet you feel like you're very much in the country. One more thing that I would like to mention about the farm is that I have a lot of wires and pipes that have been buried underground, and I have notes on all the locations for those things, and I am certainly willing to pass that information on to whoever purchases the property, and would make sure that you understand where everything is, and I would be willing to answer questions in the future if something were to happen and you needed assistance. I would do all I could to help. It's been a very difficult decision to sell, since when I bought the property it was cut over timberland, and everything that is here I have been responsible for. To do more things that you want to do in life, you have to give some things up, and I think the farm is one of the things we have to give up.